Hey, welcome back to Matt's Garage DIY. Today, we're going to take a look at how to make your portable wood stove burn a little better. So last winter I made up a ammo can wood stove, nice compact little unit, great for backpacking, hiking if you wanted to carry something with you. This obviously is a little bit bigger than that, certainly very able to be carried out of the box with all the pieces plus all the pipe, which I've just taken off right now. Weighs about 35 pounds. Great option if you're going to be out there for a few days, or even if you're just looking for a single overnight type camping situation. Stove this size, I feel, offers a few benefits, largely because it has that larger capacity for wood, so you're not having to get up every hour to refill it, getting a better sleep, giving off more heat. Certainly if there's, if you got a couple guys out with you and whatnot and you're trying to heat a bigger area, a stove like this will be better at that. So we're going to try to make this scientific. I'm going to chop up a 2x4 into, probably just going to cut up like 5 1-foot length pieces. Use a little bit of tinder and paper to get it going. Burn that the way it is. We'll kind of take a look at that, what sort of heat we get on top and how long it lasts. And then I'm going to try to make a few modifications to this stove. I'll show you what I do. Then we'll put that exact same 5 pieces of wood in there with a little bit of tinder and paper. Fire it up again, see if it burns hotter, see if it burns longer, better, that sort of stuff. Anyways, yeah, let's get to it. All right, here's my 2 piles of wood. I've tried to make those as equal or even as possible. I am going to probably take the top 2 pieces and sort of chop them once or twice with a hatchet just so I have a little bit more of a progression in the wood size. But yeah, I'm going to take this outside and let's fire it up for our first test. I'm going to fire this up. I've got paper and the little kindling in there now. It's about 20 to 8, so we'll keep track of how long this takes. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. Alright, so I've got all the wood in there now. Fire looks like it's going okay. We'll try shutting the door and see how well this draws. You can see there's actually 2 sets of damper draft holes on the top, one at the bottom, one at the top, both that are open and closable. Alright, so it's been a half hour. Almost looks like the stove's gone out, so we're going to open up this door and take a peek inside. So lots of nice red coals. Actually is seeming to draw. I was a little concerned that it wasn't actually drawing enough oxygen in to keep itself going, but it seems like it's doing alright. So we'll close that back up and maybe come back in another hour and see if it's still burning. Alright, so while we're out here, we're going to actually check the temperature. I'll check it kind of at a few spots on the top. I feel like it's going to be very uneven. So 159, 160 at the front. 195 about the middle. And high, so beyond the reading of this little temperature gauge. So pretty cold at the front, super hot at the back. So right in front of the stove you can see there's a whole bunch of the heat strip. So that has, or the fireproof seal around the door has all basically fallen off. So the glue has melted, that heat seal has fallen off. So I think that's allowing this to draw in a little extra air, which is maybe what's keeping it going here. But clearly a bit of a design flaw. Alright, so it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're out here to check the stove. Yeah, basically ice cold on top. I open that up. Still got some chunks of wood in here, but really not putting off any heat. I can pick all those pieces up. So 2 hours, 20 minutes, that is done. Alright, so it's been a couple days. I brought this back inside, dumped out everything that was in it. This is what I've got left for, kind of ash, chunks of wood, that sort of stuff. So we're going to kind of use that as our baseline as far as maybe trying to get a more complete burn with some modifications to this stove. Alright, time for some arts and crafts. So 2 of the things that I'm going to do. First is I'm going to add in like a smoke shelf. Basically I have a piece of 22 gauge. Not sure if that's going to be heavy enough. Certainly it'll be heavy enough, it'll do the trick. Not sure about the longevity, but the idea is that I'm going to, on the inside of the stove, weld that in. Going to leave about 1.5 inches at the back, about 1.25 inches at the front, creating a slight slope, basically forcing the heat, the smoke, to sort of travel in an S shape as it exits the stove. This will make the top of the stove hotter, kind of distribute that better. When I was taking the temperature, it was really, really hot right around the chimney. So basically, the majority of the heat is almost going straight out the chimney. This will force the top of the stove to heat up better and give you more heat in the area that you're trying to heat. Second thing, I'm going to add some mesh in the bottom, create a bit of an air gap, just so I can try to get a little bit better airflow underneath the stove. So those are kind of the two main modifications. I'm drawing this on the side because it's going to be really tough to show you inside how that kind of goes together. And then again on the door, I'm going to glue all the weather stripping back on, or that heat gasket back on, so just so we can get a little better sealer on the door. So all right, got my smoke shelf bent up. Cut the back corners off, just in case any creosote starts to build up in here while it's sort of hot and liquidish. Can kind of run off those back corners down back into the fire, help it to burn back up. Just bent the edges using a vise and a hammer. You don't need any special equipment to do this. But as we look at the front, you're going to see I have an issue. This is not a very big opening, and my shelf will not fit in. So, being that it's 22 gauge, I will be able to kind of bend that, flex it, and get it inside. That certainly would be one of the advantages of using a lighter gauge steel for that inner smoke shelf. All right, as you can see, it does flex well, or easy enough to get that in there. You do want to wear some gloves when you're bending that. You don't want to cut your hands on any of the sharp edges of that tin, but just going to finish this up and then we'll kind of get it into the right place. But there's a look at one of the edges of the smoke shelf welded in place. So I'm going to start by using some 18 gauge perforated mesh for my vented floor. I built an Amelcan wood stove last winter. You can click on the link above to check that out. I used a piece of this for the floor, worked great. Actually, while I have this out, just wanted to flip it open and show you. So this right here is the smoke shelf. Much easier to see in the Amelcan because I'm able to flip that lid open and show you, but that's basically the idea of it. So back to the mesh. I'm going to use this again on the floor. Because I have a much larger floor, I'm worried about this sagging. So what I've done, I just went and cut a chunk of this expanded metal mesh. I'm going to just tack a couple pieces of this on, so giving me a good solid base, good airflow, but that will also prevent the embers or coals from falling through. And then on the back side, I'm just going to tack on some 5/16 nuts as little legs. That will just prevent this from sagging and help to kind of maintain the space and get proper airflow underneath. So I'll put that. Got this welded up. Got all the nuts on the back. This is not a welding instructional video. I'm sure all the journeyman welders out there are cringing when they watch this, but for what I'm doing, this is going to do the trick. Last step is the door. You can see it looks like they actually just used maybe some two-sided tape to put this fireproof gasket on the first time. I'm going to use some red RTV. It's good to 650 Fahrenheit. For this stove, that's probably good enough. So I'll clean this all up and then I'm going to glue that on. All right, so we got the stove all modified, replaced the seal on the door, added the airflow or mesh on the bottom, and then built in that smoke shelf. It's about 10 degrees in the garage right now, so that's 50-ish Fahrenheit. I've prepped the wood inside because outside it's minus 35 Celsius, which is about minus 31 Fahrenheit. It is pretty cold. Anyways, now that my wood's ready to go, I'm going to pull this outside, we'll fire it up and see how it does. So you can hear the fire crackling already. There's a little bit of loss in space, obviously, inside the stove, so I'm going to have to work to get all those pieces of wood in there, but as well you can see when you look at the chimney, the smoke is doing exactly what we wanted. Even with the door open on the stove, no smoke coming out the front, all of it just kind of doing that nice S shape through the stove and going right up the chimney. The stove's been going for about 10 minutes. We're just going to do a quick temperature check on top. 219, 194, or sorry, 191.4, 186.6. So you go, so much more consistent. I think quick math there,
about maybe 30 to 40 degrees difference front to back, whereas without the smoke shelf we had about 150 degrees at the front, and so hot right by the pipe that the my little thermometer here wouldn't even read it, or temperature gauge wouldn't even read it. So goal 1 has been accomplished. Nice even heat across that top. All right, it's been about an hour and 10 minutes. Let's open this up and see what's going on inside. Okay, so it looks like we still have actually quite a bit of wood. I'm going to pull that all together just because we are seeing how much of this we can kind of get to burn down. Now, I pulled the wood back together. You can see kind of a little bit of flame kind of bursting out there. A couple decent size of 2x4 left, so I will close this back up and we'll come and check on it another 45 minutes. All right, so here we are, 2-hour mark. Still some smoke coming out the chimney. I'm going to not open the door, just going to let this smolder away. 3-hour mark, just the faintest bit of smoke still coming out of that. So looking at the stove itself, I can put my hand on it. It's still definitely warm to the touch. We'll take a look inside and see what we got. There we go. So now that I pulled that wood together, right away you can see a lot more smoke coming back out the chimney. So still going to need to kind of tend this on and off, but yeah, well past the 3-hour mark. All right, so 5.5 hours. Don't know that it really shows up. There's still a couple of glowing embers in there, but really this is pretty much done. Stove is cold to the touch.
Yeah. All right, so we dumped the wood out of the stove. This is burn number 2. I'm going to say there's probably a little less wood. There is this one sort of larger chunk. But the other stuff, I feel there's like the overall volume, I feel there's a little less, and a lot more of the fine ash, less pieces, sort of this size. So I think we have got a better burn. We are going to do a few more modifications because I think I can get this to burn a little bit better. All right, door's been modified. Just basically sized the original holes with a drill bit, and it did confirm they were only 3/8 holes to begin with. So we've gone up to 1/2 inch, added the extra hole. When I slide this over, all the holes are shut down, dampened right off. So there we go. Let's fire this up. Got the bottom 4 damper holes open, and yeah, we'll come back and check on this in 15 minutes or so and see if that's still drawing the way that I'm hoping it will. So 5 minutes later, just poking through one of those draft holes, you can see still drawing really nice in there. So there you go, there's a few simple tips on how to make your outdoor or your camping wood stove burn a little better, be a little more efficient. Anyways, hope you liked the video. As always, be sure to click that like and subscribe button. Stay tuned for my next video.